Hi everyone, my name is Nicolai. I'm the CEO and founder at Synthesized. We are an all-in-one data ops platform helping companies collaborate with sensitive data much safer and more efficiently. Today I'm going to be talking about ethics and privacy, and as opposed to having a theoretical discussion, we're going to talk about how we can actually achieve privacy and ethics in data pipelines. My background is fairly technical, so I spent over 8 years in academia, did my PhD at Cambridge, spent some time in the US at Stanford, and also used to work for a hedge fund from New York. Before I started the company with my co-founder, Dennis, who is probably even more technical than myself, we started the company about 3 years ago with the mission to really empower any data-driven organization with high volumes of high-quality data sets in a compliant and privacy-preserving manner. The content of the talk today is that we're going to talk about the new world of data self-service, data value, data privacy. We're going to talk about how to achieve immediate access to high-quality simulated data sets for a multitude of scenarios, how we can safely collaborate on data and innovate faster, fast-track development in a secure and compliant manner, mitigate data bias, and we're going to talk about some of the actual case studies, some of the work we've done with the global affairs institution in the UK. A few words about the company. So we started the business over 3 years ago, and the vision of an empowered world where progress isn't impeded by incomplete data. The company has very strong ties with academia, University of Cambridge, Imperial College, UCL, and industrial partners. We solve the problem, the pain of working with data safely without losing speed. And what we've built is the so-called data ops platform that automates the creation and delivery of high-quality data products in minutes in a compliant manner. And it's a lot about collaboration, ensuring that we can optimize the value that data analysts, ML, and test engineers bring collaborating on sensitive data sets. The company is backed by leading VCs in the UK and Europe, such as Seedcamp, IQ Capital, Mundi Ventures, and we're also supported by the government, by the UK government through the Tech Nation scheme in the UK as well. We've seen a lot in the past couple of years, massive explosion of structured data, and it's definitely an opportunity for enterprise to rethink how they use data and unlock its value. However, so what we've seen is that many businesses cannot pinpoint the true value of the data, and over 60% of data's values are underutilized. And even if they did, they still struggle to share it, even internally. And we've seen a number of data breaches and fines in the past. So British Airways was fined for exposing the personal details of over 400,000 customers in 2018. And when data shared, product teams still waste over 60% of the time to manually create less than 20% of possible test cases. And this is the problem I experienced myself while collaborating with a number of institutions while I was at Cambridge and also spending some time in industry. So definitely the pain point which still exists, and we've seen massive advances in machine learning and AI. However, so there is still a massive gap in terms of empowering those applications with high quality data sets and different data, the so-called data products and data scenarios. Organizations understand they cannot really share sensitive data. They cannot really collaborate on it. Number of data governance platforms, which are available on the market right now, so they essentially they lack the coverage, the understanding of the essence of data, and also there is a massive effort needed to implement these solutions, and essentially it exceeds the value. Data anonymization is another type of platforms, and it's an alternative solution to the problem of sharing data. And as we've seen, and we're going to present today as well, is that data anonymization is simply not safe, with a number of studies published in the last couple of years. Also, existing simulated synthetic data solutions are also not safe, as was shown quite recently as well. At the same time, the industry requirements are really about decentralization of the ownership and across the teams oriented around domains. So companies really want to be efficient and really want to make sure that they can run different projects without bottlenecks of dealing with different data engineers on a case-by-case basis. So there really has to be a self-service, on-demand, access to high-quality, safe data products available for research and development right now. The entire system has to be compliant with both internal and external data governance and privacy policies. So the industry understands that sensitive data simply cannot be shared, and it cannot be used for training purposes, it cannot be used for development purposes or for testing purposes. And if it cannot be shared, then how do we train machine learning models? And this is the solution we provide, which is the so-called all-in-one data ops platform, which enables to create completely new data scenarios, new data products and services in a compliant and efficient manner. The way it works is essentially threefold. It connects to a data source, whether it's a database, data warehouse, data lake, which contains some raw data. It's also able to amalgamate that raw data with data requirements, which essentially describe the output data which we want for training, development, or testing purposes. It's then able to understand deep patterns, hidden data such as bias, missing elements, and also understand the high-dimensional structure behind it. And using that structure, it's able to create completely new data products and services which have better quality and do not have problems which original data, raw data has, such as problems with sensitivity, problems with quality as well. And then those data products and services are available for machine learning training and tuning, software testing and evaluation, and data streaming. The platform is able to create a new data scenario in under 10 minutes, as opposed to alternative approaches, or often manual approaches, which may take days or even sometimes weeks or even months to create and make data available for development and testing purposes. The benefits are really a lot about ensuring compliant collaboration on sensitive data and enabling high-quality data products for development and testing environments. We enable privacy by design, and as opposed to traditional approaches which essentially destroy data by redacting PII, obfuscating data, and masking it, so we are able to create completely new high-quality data products which actually have better privacy guarantees. And as a result of that, so we provide assurance that there are no data breaches associated with those data products, no risks of loss of company or personal reputation, or even of course fines for non-compliance with data regulations such as GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA. We ensure that all the data you need is available in under 10 minutes, and we are able to create high-quality representative examples of millions of those examples in minutes, as opposed to traditional approaches which may take, as discussed, hours or even weeks. The platform is also self-service and essentially provides the speed to iterate internally and also externally. We are able to accelerate product testing, validate models, and drive new revenue streams for the innovation labs within the organization very rapidly. And it's a lot about collaboration. It's a lot about ensuring that we can iterate, iterate with data teams while staying compliant with data regulations. And part of this innovation is, of course, about external data sharing. And here we really streamline the process of collaborating with ML-powered data access and data clean rooms. New partnerships and new data monetization opportunities are available immediately. Here's an example of how we delivered privacy by design and ethical use of data in data pipelines for testing purposes for a global FS institution. The need was to eliminate the risk of data leakage from copies of production data used across the testing ecosystem. At the same time, the company wanted to have access to some representative data sets for testing purposes. And before Synthesize, it used to manually create these data sets with over 400 hours spent per project of manual work. At the same time, before Synthesize, the anonymization process was also ad hoc and manual. Our approach was to essentially automate the process of generating high quality test data with data privacy by design. We help them to, in a way, create completely new records for testing purposes, but also improve the coverage of data. The business outcome was that we essentially able to automate more than 90% of manual work with the estimated savings of over £700,000 per year. We also provided a mathematical framework for measuring the coverage of the data we provide, of the so-called synthesized data, and show them how we can optimize the coverage of data as well. I think it's important to ensure that the process is safe and privacy preserving. And of course, I mean, it goes without saying that the privacy of personal data is a fundamental right, and it should be at the core of any data process, or of any data sharing process. So companies understand that they simply cannot share sensitive data. They cannot collaborate on sensitive data. And people also aware of this and also not really comfortable with with getting the data exposed to different ML models, software products and services. And there is a dilemma, which is, on the one hand, we want to ensure that we as society move and essentially develop innovative solutions, but at the same time, we want to protect the privacy of individuals. As a result of that, so different companies have tried to design some kind of data anonymization solutions, data governance solutions, as I mentioned. But according to a recent study, so those methods were shown to be unsafe. And well, there are two types of risks associated with different anonymization techniques. So the first one is the so-called identity disclosure risk, where it's possible to essentially de-identify the personal information of individuals via the so-called homogeneity attacks, background knowledge attacks, skewness attacks, and similarity attacks, and many, many more. And also, well, apart from the identity disclosure, there is a massive risk of the so-called attribute disclosure, when it's actually possible to identify, understand a bit more about the statistical pattern hidden in data. And that can also lead to a massive data leakage and a massive risk. One of the examples, which I'm sure many people have heard of, is the so-called Netflix data challenge. There was a challenge organized about 15 years ago by Netflix to essentially design the best-in-class recommendation system. So they ran a hackathon and they released a data set to the participants in the hackathon, which was meant to be anonymized. And then about 2 years later, a group of researchers came up with a way to de-identify the entire data set by essentially linking it back to the publicly available information found on IMDb website. And over 95% of individuals were simply de-identified, even though the dataset was meant to be completely anonymous. We found a different way of ensuring that privacy of individuals is actually preserved by understanding that original data is only the container. It's only the container for the information which is out there. And unfortunately, the problem with the original data is it's a very bad container. It leaks the information about individuals. So think about a large sort of credit scoring data set. And typically you get over, say, 500 millions of records in a given sort of credit scoring data set, and all of them convey some insight, some signal. And that signal is less sensitive compared to the data set which it conveys, which carries that information. And by understanding that, so it's essentially possible to repackage the information which the dataset carries and essentially package it in a more privacy secure container. And so we call it, the synthesized data. The way it's done is by using the deep generative modeling techniques, and the way how the entire process works is that we essentially encapsulate the original data, which is sensitive, which also has some issues with quality as well. So we encapsulate it into a signal. So we extract all the signals and then we repackage them much better compared to the original data by means of the different data products available through the platform. when we released the platform about 6 months ago, we realized that it's not only about privacy, but also it's a lot about I would say, data being pure. And when we think about what it means, it also entails that we really have to be careful with different, I would say, bad patterns, just for example, bias. And I do spent about over a couple of months studying this problem and to realize that most of the work that had been done in this area was essentially quite theoretical. And we really wanted to provide a fairly sort of practical solution to the problem of data bias. And so what we realized is that one of the misconceptions is that fairness is a property of an ML model. And hence companies need to ensure that customer-facing models are not discriminatory. That of course makes sense, but at the same time we realize that, ML models are trained using some data sets, right? And also not only ML models, but also different teams like marketing teams, sales teams, product teams get exposed to different data pipelines. And as you know, ML is essentially trained to identify different skewness, different biases in data, and it uses it to achieve better performance. Essentially, the problem has to be solved at the core in the data pipeline. And then we started essentially working on the so-called notion of data bias. And we studied a number of techniques, what data bias means and what discrimination means. And one of the famous sayings and one of the famous questions is, okay, aren't all data sets biased? And isn't machine learning essentially used to identify those biases and leverage them? And then we realized that essentially there is a massive difference between discrimination and data bias. So discrimination happens when the bias is against the legally protected attributes. And there is a number of them in the UK, US, European Union, other countries as well. And it's very important to ensure that ML is not trained to identify and leverage that bias against legally protected attributes. So we need to understand that data is essentially a signal, and we need to be able to understand how to curate the signal by understanding high-dimensional statistical properties of that signal. And what we designed is this so-called rebalancing, which is not only one-dimensional, but it propagates across all the different dimensions. And we found a way to quickly manipulate the structure of data to make it unbiased. And essentially what we realized is that it's actually possible to remove all the skewness and all the bias, all the discrimination from the pipelines without actually losing too much value from the pipelines. So here are some of the additional references. So we've done a great collaboration project with the Financial Conduct Authority in terms of building and providing those simulated data products for internal innovation in the digital sandbox. So the webinar and the press release are available online. We publish a lot about automating data rebalancing for banking and insurance, about data science applications which we enable and facilitate with synthesized data platform, about statistical data quality assessment capabilities as well. We talked about bias, and this capability is available the reference is also on our website. We also provide guide to data privacy, how to ensure the data privacy and data ethics and data pipelines. And we published a lot about fairness and algorithmic biases. This information is also available on our website. You can apply for access to the platform. It's actually available right now for use. It should be fairly straightforward to register and to really see how the platform works and how you can start benefiting from it. And it's really a lot about ensuring that we can essentially enable collaboration on sensitive data without losing speed, without actually losing the efficiency of data teams, and ensuring the overall compliance with data governance and data privacy regulations. Thanks a lot for listening. Please visit the website and connect to me and the team on LinkedIn and Twitter.